Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. Thank you so much for joining me tonight. My name is Alyssa Thomas from Penguin and Fish, where we make lovely and quirky hand embroidery patterns and kits. And I'm here every weeknight at 8:30 p.m. Central Time where we relax and we craft, we work on a project together from beginning to end, and we just hang out and chit-chat. I encourage you to check out my YouTube at Penguin and Fish Movies, where all the replays for these are, and share what you're working with in the Penguin and Fish Crafters group on Facebook. I'd love to see what you're working on, and especially if you're working on one of our projects here, be sure to take a pic and share in there. Again, that's the Penguin and Fish Crafters group on Facebook. Check it out there and just click join, and then I will let you in after that. But all right, so guys, we are continuing the Charming Chevrons quilt by Krista Watson of Krista Quilts. There we go. It is super sweet. And it's one of those projects where it's one step like a ton of time. So we're just working through each of the little steps. So what we're doing is we've sewn two squares together, and we've drawn a diagonal line down one of the diagonals, and we've sewn a 1/4 inch on either side of these two squares, either side of the diagonal there. And what we're going to do after that, this is what we're doing today. We are going to cut the diagonal, and that's going to leave us with two sewn half square triangles. So we got one on that side and one on this side. And then we were going to press them and trim them down. So we'll have a bunch of half square triangles. So it's a square. That half is a triangle here and the other half is a triangle there. Half square triangle is what they're called in quilty land. And then we'll be sewing pairs of those together. We won't be doing this tonight. We're just going to make the half square triangles, but we'll eventually sew them together in two half square triangles to make basically half of a zigzag, half of a chevron. And then eventually we'll be making ones that go the other direction, and then we'll have like our full zigzag going on. So that is the plan of this project. And again, tonight we are just going to be trimming these guys in half, pressing them, and then trimming them down to our perfect half square triangles like this. So that is what we're up to again tonight. And then tomorrow, we're gonna get the stack as big as we can tonight, and tomorrow we will sew them all up into the half chevrons again, and then we'll keep going. So, all right guys, I'm gonna flip you around and we'll get started. Let's see what we can do tonight. Thanks again for joining, everyone. Hello, Kathy from Thailand. It must be, you're in the future over there. All right, so here's the stack that we did last night. Since we get two out of each of these. You know, we get the one on that side and we get the one on this side. We want to keep those together because we're going to eventually sew similar ones together. So we want to make sure that we keep them together. So after I've been trimming them, I've been just placing them together. So we got the two that are similar. And so here are my stack of similar ones. So they're right on top of each other, like this one, you know, looks like this. Got that guy going, and so on. So this is what we did last night, how far we got last night. Here is my stack that we have to do yet. So we're just gonna get as far as we can on this tonight. So let's start with one. So we have the diagonal going down the center, and we've sewn a 1/4 inch on either side. So I'm going to start out by, we will just cut along that line that we drew on with pencil earlier. And we're going to cut right down that diagonal. So therefore we're dividing that in half there. And now we have our two half square triangles. So we got one there and we got one here. So we're going to press those, and then we're going to trim them so they're perfect, our perfect size. We want all of these squares to be exactly the same, so that's why we trim them down, trim off all the dog ears and everything like that too. So, all right, let's press these little buggers. I always give it like a little press on the seam before opening it. All right, and then we are gonna press the seams open. So here's the seam, and pressing it open just means, like right now it's both the fabric pieces of the seam are to one side. We're gonna just open that up. And the instructions in Krista's pattern here tell us to do that, and supposedly it helps with free motion quilting, and that is the big reason why I'm working on this project. Is I want to learn how to free motion quilt. I haven't done it except for like a little scrap, so I want to make up this quilt and then try some free motion quilting on it. So that's why we're doing the open seam. But yeah, so there's one step after this. We will just be trimming it. And we've done this for a few days already. But just in case you're new, this is the rundown of what we're working on. And we'll be doing this for a long time yet, because we have all these chevrons that go from the upper left to the lower right, and then we got an equal amount to go the other direction. So we got two big stacks of these to do yet. But each little bit, and we get a little further along. Okay, so now I'm going to take my ruler. I have a 4.5-inch ruler, which is the size of what our block needs to be. So that's super handy to have one that's the exact size. And this one has a diagonal along here. So I'm going to put that diagonal line along my diagonal seam. Make sure the ruler's within the fabric edges, and then I'm going to just trim down all the edges. And I have this little rotating cutting mat, which helps with that a ton. You don't need it, but the process has been going a bit speedier by having this ruler that's the exact size, square, and the rotating cutting mat. But there we go. Now we have a perfectly shaped, trimmed half square triangle. So let's do the other one. And then we will just be cruising along just like this for the rest of the hour here. So let me know what you guys did today. I know yesterday I said I was gonna go and try to see if the snow was good snowman snow, but I did not get out at all today. I've just been kind of working up to dinner basically, so I don't know, maybe tomorrow. It's supposed to get a little bit warmer. All right, I want to see what this looks like. So this is like our chevron. I just kind of rotated them. If we rotate them a different way, then we get the chevron half that's going the other direction. But I'm doing all of them in one direction right now. So I'm just kind of putting them in that direction and putting the bottom one on the top, and that's kind of how I'm storing my entire stack. So all of these, if you just take the top piece and put it down, you'll get that chevron. And that'll just help me sew them together later. It'll be easier for me to just grab and go. Joe, I think, I'm not quite positive yet, but I think the next project we're gonna do, we'll do it in between finishing this quilt top and then sandwiching and quilting it. That'll be like the second half of it. We might sandwich it before having them in the middle project, but sometimes I like to put small projects in between some of these larger projects, just, you know, because then you can have a quick win sort of thing. So I think the next project is going to be the book cover, that zipper book cover. Or it's like a sketchbook cover, but it has a little zipper in the back, so you can put pencils and stuff in, but it's part of the cover. It's from my Sew and Stitch embroidery book. I think we'll do that next. It's kind of a fun, quick project, and we can we can add some embroidery or add some fun stuff. It's kind of up for grabs what we do on the cover for that. So I'll think about that a little bit more. But I think that'll be our next project. And again, it'll be in the middle of doing this project. So we'll get the top done on this, and then I think we will do the that project for my book, that sketchbook cover with the zipper pouch included in it. And then we'll get back to this and we'll start the free motion quilting, the big learning how to free motion quilt. And so I think that's the plan. Just because, you know, that was one of the projects that we talked about doing, and these quilt projects take so long too that, you know, if we hold off to the end of this, it'll probably be like the end of the year before we have another small little project. So we'll pepper in small projects within these big ones. You just got home from seeing the 4 granddaughters. Oh, and you drove all day. Yeah, that's tough to drive all day, but how fun to see the granddaughters. And cleaning up the sewing room, or clean and organize in the sewing room. That's awesome, Gina. I always feel so much better after I've cleaned up my office and my sewing room. Usually I'll be working on a project and make a huge mess of everything, and then it'll hit like critical mass where I can't stand it anymore, and then I'll just like binge clean on it for a weekend or however long it takes. Get everything exactly in its spot and get rid of all the stuff I don't need. And but it's usually not till I just can't take it anymore. Then I stop. All right, here's our second little pair down. There, like that. Ugh, I like this one. So this red is my background color. I'm kind of excited to see what that looks like when we start laying it all out. No, so none of my fabric, well, I guess technically it was a pre-cut. None of my fabric were in the, none of my fabric were in the squares already. What is that? Is that a, oh gosh, I can't remember now, a charm pack? Is that the 5-inch squares? Let me see. Yeah, charm pack. So there are pre-cuts, and that just means like a popular size cut of fabric that fabric stores like selling it in. And one of those is called a charm pack. And all that is a bunch of different fabrics, like a little bundle of fabrics, and they all happen to be cut in 5-inch squares. So this pattern is made with that in consideration. So this would be perfect if you have a charm pack laying around. And usually, you know, a lot of times maybe there are a bunch of different solids in a pre-cut charm pack, or, you know, sometimes it'll be a designer's whole collection or something like that. So they're fun and they're cute, and they're all cut to the 5-inch squares already, which for this project would be amazing because then you get to skip entirely the cutting portion of this. But no, I cut it all up. Oh, watching me is so relaxing. Well, that's nice. But yeah, so a charm pack is a common pre-cut, and Krista Watson, who is the designer of this project, she owns, oh, I believe it's called the Pre-Cut Store. So if you go like on Amazon, the Pre-Cut Store, she has a business where they sell a bunch of pre-cut fabric from fabric companies and stuff. So she is super familiar with pre-cut fabric and designs projects around it, knowing that, you know, people like getting these pre-cuts and they want projects to do just with it. So this is an example of one of those projects. And really, if I had all these 5-inch squares pre-cut for me already, That'd be pretty swell, I do have to say, but you know, we made it through. So my background fabric, the red, that came off the bolt, so we had to cut all of these 5-inch squares. We had to cut the big length of the bolt, or the width of the bolt, and then cross-cut them all into the squares. And then all my pattern fabric came from either fat quarters, which is another common pre-cut that is basically it's a yard of fabric but divided up in quarters like that, versus quarters like this. You know, instead of 4 long quarters stacked up, so a long quarter like that, that is a normal, that's just a quarter cut of fabric. But if you take a yard and you cut it like this, then each of those small segments, also a yard of fabric, or also a quarter yard of fabric, right? Because you're taking a yard and dividing it into 4, but you're dividing it into 4 horizontally and vertically versus, you know, 4 cuts going up. So that's why it's fat. They're a little fatter than those long, skinny ones. And they're nice for a lot of different projects, you know, like bags and just a pile of different projects, because the fact that they're a little bigger, or the proportions of it, you can really see a lot of the pattern and everything. So they're a really nice big chunk of fabric. And so most of most of my pattern fabric was fat quarters, and a few of them were fat eighths, which is a fat quarter cut in half again. But yeah, so they were all for my stash, which I am very happy about. And so I'm using some of my favorite fabrics that I've been hoarding in my stash forever. So to me, that's super significant because, you know, some of these fabrics, like, they were literally fat quarters that were folded up all cute and tied with a bow and just sitting on my shelf. And I couldn't even undo the bow to look at the fabrics because it was too pretty. Like, it was too pretty just sitting up on my shelf. And it was like that way for years, and I couldn't bring myself to use it for anything because I didn't want to hurt it, basically, was the theory. But now that I've been just making more stuff and making more stuff consistently like this, I've started to just decide, oh, and you know what? You know, I read The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up, and I've been trying to just clean up my stuff a little bit more and use what I have, and just being open to using stuff a little bit more. And now I love it. I love using these fabrics that I've just hoarded forever. I feel like I'm totally honoring the fabric more by using it than letting it sit around. And I don't feel like I'm hurting it at all. And that's what I was afraid of. I feel like I'm honoring it, not hurting it. So it makes me happy. So I've been plowing through my stash a lot lately. So just because I've been kind of open to the idea of using up my stuff, and I've been liking it. When you cut into a fat quarter, do you cut across the shorter end up or the longer side? Oh, a fat quarter, it's literally if you cut a yard of fabric and then divide it in half both ways, then you'll have 4 fat quarters. So that's a fat quarter. So if you imagine it that way, so you're rolling it off a bolt, and you roll it off a bolt, and you measure that 36 inches, and then you cut that, and then you halve it twice. So if you think about what that would be, it's, you know, half of the 36 is 18 inches, so you can cut an 18-inch cut, and then cut that in half at around 21 inches, or whatever the width of your fabric is, and then you'd have 2 fat quarters. So it's the width of your fabric cut in half, like the measurement cut in half, and then it's a yard, which is 36 inches cut in half. So that's 18 inches. So that's how I remember it. Oop, I did this one already. It's just a yard cut in half vertically and horizontally. Versus if you like went to Joann's or a fabric shop and you said, cut me a yard of fabric, or not a yard, cut me a quarter of fabric. All they would do is they'd unwrap the bolt a little and then cut a quarter yard. And when they're doing that, then it's only 9 inches. So they're cutting 9 inches, the width of the fabric. So if you divide a yard, so it's 36 inches. So 4 times 9 is 36. So they're just cutting a quarter off of that, 36 divided by 4. That's what they're getting, their quarter, and then just cutting the entire width of the bolt. So you'd end up with a 9-inch by like 42-inch piece of fabric. Which way to cut, into the longer side or across the shorter side? To get these 5-inch squares, Jennifer, or oh, when you use the fat quarter, you don't know how to... Oh, okay. So when you're cutting these 5-inch squares, it just always depends on what project you're working on. I mean, I don't remember what I did for this. I just kind of figured out the math. Okay, I can get this many if I count this way and this many if I count this way. Well, actually, these are squares, so it would be the same way either way. So you just have to cut the 5 inches one way and then cut them the other way. And then, just until you run out of fabric. Or maybe I'm not understanding your question quite right. Yeah, it depends on the project. I always cut it, I always cut into my fat quarters in a way where I can, maximize my fabric so I can have, so I can get the most amount of pieces out of the piece of fabric. So that, usually requires me to do some sort of math to kind of figure that out. But yeah, it's kind of on a per project basis. This way, yeah, they were square, so it didn't matter which direction I cut. I would just cut until I didn't have any fabric left. And I think I do have a few big scrappy chunks from my fat quarters or fat eighths or something, so I do have scraps from this project. Oh, maybe I'm just not quite understanding, Patricia. But yeah, I would love to do a project like this where I do have all the pre-cuts ready to go, like, in this case, the charm packs, because, man, you get to skip an entire step, and each step, because there are so many pieces, each step takes a really long time. So to completely skip a step, skipping the cutting, because I have pre-cut fabric, that'd be a pretty swell deal. But yeah, and if you're interested in that, then I would definitely check out the pre-cut store. You can probably just Google the pre-cut store and get to it. And that's Krista's, who's the designer of this, Krista Watson. That's her company where they sell a bunch of pre-cut fabric with a big selection and stuff. But yeah, so if there's like a designer that you love their fabric or something, that might be a good place to get, like, you can get a charm pack, which is the 5-inch squares of the entire collection. So you'd have like a little thumbnail of every little bit of the collection. So that's kind of a fun way of doing stuff. Then you don't have to spend a ton of time picking fabric and stuff. Just pick your favorite collection, and then you'll have everything from that collection, especially for this project. Oh yeah, Bonnie, that's a good point. If you're worried about like a certain project on what's the best way to cut in your fat quarter to maximize your usage of it, so you're not wasting a bunch of fabric, and to make sure that you're getting everything cut that you need to. Yeah, you can Google it. If a pattern mentions to use a fat quarter, a lot of times they'll tell you right in the pattern the best way to utilize that fat quarter. So that's handy sometimes too. I still like these purple ones. I ran out of pattern fabric because I couldn't remember what size quilt I was doing, so I just added in some purple solids, which I think are kind of fun. Stack's looking a little smaller today. That makes me happy. A stack of fabric is one of those things where it never looks like you're making progress, but eventually you do. My stash is getting smaller and smaller with all these projects though, which is fun. It'd be cool to someday use up the entire stash. I doubt that'll happen, but who knows. I saw some of your pics in the Penguin Fish Crafters group on Facebook. Some of you that got some of my fabric and are putting it into projects already. That's so cool. It's so fun to see. You never know, like, I mean, that's kind of the fun part about designing fabric is all the ideas people have of making stuff out of it and just getting to see some of those. Oh, I thought this seemed a little loose. All right, tightened up my blade a bit. I like this purple and red. Okay, there's one. I'm gonna have like little 4-inch squares etched into this cutting board soon. Oh man, it would have been nice to go out and do the snowman today. Maybe tomorrow. Actually, maybe Friday. The hubs and I have not got flu shots yet, and we think we maybe still should. So I think Friday we're gonna run to Target or something and get flu shots. Maybe we'll do flu shots and then make snowmen. I think it's supposed to be like 40 or something on Friday, which is a heat wave. Oh, the birds is the background for a mystery quilt. Oh, cool, Robin, that's neat. Jennifer, this is a Rowenta. It's called the Rowenta First Class. It's a travel iron. The handle holds the water for steam, and it folds up into it. But it's my little travel iron. I've kind of, after sewing a lot here with my normal big iron, I found that just the little travel one, it's so much lighter and fits in this tiny space a lot better. Oh yeah, and I have a link. I have a link for it in this post too. If you go down on my Facebook post to products in here, I have a link to it. But I'm totally loving it so far. It has that little kind of tapered edge, which helps for you know, opening these seams and stuff. Yeah, they say we should still get the flu shot. Yeah, we try to not do it, but then, you know, then you're risking it. So I think we'll still go do it. I hate going to those places, though, to do it because there's just sick people everywhere. So I'm like, we're going to get the flu just by going to go get the flu shot from everyone that's sick there. But yeah, we've been, you know, in contact with people, so we should probably get a flu shot. still. So that's the Friday agenda. Taxes, I gotta start, or we've already started, but I gotta work on taxes and flu shots. So that's a swell day, huh? Oh man, I'm gonna need to get an ice cream cone or something. Oh, they gave you a $5 gift card? Well, that's interesting. We went there last year, and you know, it's nice. You can just walk into Target and get it done real quick. But dang. They can give me $5. I'm okay with that. It's nice to have that convenience to just go there. We had to change insurance this year, which we have to do every year because we're self-employed and they jack rates every single year. So we always have to get new insurance. But our new insurance, we can't have our old doctors, so we have to find new doctors now, which blows. But, you know, so we can't just go into our doctor to get a flu shot because we can't go to our doctor anymore. So it's nice that there's like little minute clinics and like Target and stuff around to do stuff like that. I fought it for years. Oh, you've had 3 in the last 3 years, no side effects. Okay, good. That's what I'm shooting for, Patricia. Oh, you had yours done at the doctor's. Yeah, that's got to get on our agenda. We currently have no doctor at this point. Boo. But yeah, we did it at Target last year, and that was fine. But before that, I think it had been a few years since I gotten it. And I don't think I've had the flu since I was little. So, you know, knock on wood and all that. That'd be kind of a nightmare. We did manage to avoid having the horrible cold that everyone had over the holidays in my family. And, you know, we're like close quarters and everything. So we were all like, for sure, oh man, we're getting sick. Just go with it. We're just going to get it. But my husband and I, we held off. I'm pretty psyched about that. Oh, your insurance wouldn't pay for the flu shot? Oh man, I thought all that was kind of like required for insurances to pay now. Maybe not. That's just, actually, I don't know if our insurance pays for it either now that I think of it. Ugh, got a flu shot early. Oh no, you got a flu shot and got intestinal flu twice this year. Boo. Not fun. Patricia, I'm with you. I just, you know, I don't like any of that. I don't like putting all that stuff in me either. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't hardly take any, you know, I don't like taking like Tylenol for headaches or anything like that either. I just don't like, you know, I don't know. Maybe I'm just paranoid, but I don't like putting all that stuff in me. So yeah, the flu shot freaks me out a little bit, but, and you know, I haven't gotten flu forever and not getting the flu shot, but you know, it's one of those things. And they say, you know, even if you don't get the flu, get a flu shot because it helps protect other people and stuff too. So that'd be why I'd do it. Oh, you had to get it from the doctor. Okay, I see. I think the Target has an actual doctor there though. So hopefully that still works. Because it's kind of like a clinic. They have you know, you can go there for other things too versus just a flu shot. So yeah, so I think Target would still work in that scenario. I hope so. That's the plan for Friday. We went last weekend or last Friday probably to go do it, but they had a sign in there that they couldn't take a lunch when their normal lunch was, so they're out to lunch. And they'd be back in like an hour or something. So we did all our shopping, and then it was so crowded once they were back in there that we bailed. So, you know, we'll do it for real this time. You know, that's true, Patricia. That's the thing. It'd be way worse to get the flu than just deal with it, you know? There we go. So, yeah, the more I think about it, that sounds like the worst day ever. What my Friday is going to be. We're going to have to get like a yummy sandwich from somewhere to like make up for it. But yeah, I'm going to work on bills, taxes, and get a flu shot on Friday. Oh, you had a bad reaction to the flu shot last year. Oh, you're scared to do it again. Ugh. Holy cow, that does sound bad. They wanted to admit you in the hospital after that reaction. Oh, God, yeah, that's scary. Yeah, I'd be scared to do it again for sure, too. Oh, you registered online for the flu shot at Target. I'm going to have to look into that because I hate going there and typing into that computer that everyone else who's super sick has touched, and I don't know. Maybe I'm a shut-in who doesn't, you know, want to be by people so they don't get sick. Hadn't really thought about that before. My pile is getting a bit smaller. It feels smaller. I guess, you know, I'm looking at it. It doesn't really look all that much smaller. Pile of fabric here. Let's see. So, it's smaller, right? That looks like a reasonable pile there. That looks like a finishable pile, I should say. Like that won't take forever. Do that little pile. Oh, thank you, Jane. I am loving seeing these fabrics. There's something about when a fabric is sewn to another fabric versus just sitting next to it. It just changes. It changes how the two react together, I think. And it's always a surprise to me, I think. So it's fun to see, to open up the squares and see what they actually look like. The triangles next to each other. Nice, Bonnie. Yeah, we're cruising along with these blocks again. I hope to have a nice big stack, and then tomorrow we'll sew them all up again. Make some half chevrons. Although I'm starting to enjoy this, actually. You know, I was always hating, you know, cutting and pressing are always like my least favorite parts. But, you know, we've been doing this for a few days now. This particular task of cutting on the diagonal, then pressing and then trimming. And I don't know, I feel like I'm in a rhythm now, and I'm feeling the zen of it finally, you know? Although that makes me feel like, oh, maybe I'm getting complacent and I should pay more attention so I don't cut my hand off with the rotary cutter. There's still always that fear. But it is, I'm sinking into the process a little bit more, which I'm happy about. I got my little bits and pieces are piling up. Look at this poor guy. I'm gonna have to, hopefully they're not going down in my machine here. I'll have to wipe out the machine again, but the stack of little scrappy scraps are getting bigger and bigger. Oh yeah, I was gonna get a little jar to put all those in. They're just too pretty. I can't throw them away quite yet. Oops, I almost forgot to press this one open. Come on, seam. There we go. Alrighty, I like these black strawberries. They're cute. I just want to see these all sewn in all the chevrons. I want to see the zigzag starting to happen. Man, so I do like the fabrics I picked for this. Like I was saying, it was fabric that I've hoarded forever, and I think it's really fun with this red and everything. But man, seeing some of the combinations that you guys are putting together over on the Penguin and Fish Crafters group on Facebook, some of those combinations are making me feel like, oh man, I wish I did something more like that, or I really love that combination. I'm gonna have to do another quilt that has something similar to that, and they're all so pretty. But now I'm like already, my brain's on like the next thing because I want to do other pretty fabric together. Just you know, you guys are doing combinations that I wouldn't normally do automatically, and I just love how they're turning out. And I'm like, man, I need to expand my color and fabric ideas, like play around a little bit more. I kind of want to do something a little more subdued and subtle. I've been doing kind of these bright, crazy ones lately, I feel like, or weird fabric combinations, and I just want to do like a sweet, pretty, subdued, almost like a dusty quilt. That'd be kind of fun. Don't quite know what dusty means. Just not as saturated. How about that? A little less saturated. Oh yeah, maybe a baby quilt. Maybe I'll do a few baby quilts or something. So I have started doing kind of a weird quilt project. Ugh, like I need to start another project, right? But so for my embroidery kits that we make with Penguin and Fish, you know, we inspect all the fabric that goes into each kit. And sometimes, oops, I forgot to press that in half. I'll have to, or open it. But a lot of times we'll get fabric that isn't perfect. Like it'll have a little string, or it'll have like a little marked stamp, like a little stamp on it that the manufacturer put on it somewhere. And, you know, so we don't want any of that in our kits. So I have all this scrap fabric, like bins and bins of like reject fabric from our kits that I've had for ages. And I've started to sew them together. So all the little markings, I've just sewn all the little markings together, like all the weird pencil marks and weird other reasons why I don't put it in the kit. I've sewn those together along with, I've just been improv piecing it. And I'm having so much fun. So it's all like a muslin. It's all like that cream muslin. But I've been sewing it with like red thread, and some of the markings, some of the little stamps that pop up end up being are red. So I picked thread to match that, and actually I think I'm gonna sew in some of the scraps from here too. I'm just having a fun time using it all up, which is gonna take ages. But I love the idea of, oh, maybe I just make a bunch of little improv quilts with scraps and have the base of it be scraps from my kits, and just, you know, because then I'm not wasting anything from the kits. I just want to make like a series of little lap quilts or something, or smaller, out of all those scraps. So that's kind of why I wanted to put up that other sewing machine. You know, I was talking about my my husband's great-grandma's Singer sewing machine, one of those old black solid sewing machines. And I have a little table upstairs that I was thinking of maybe I could just have it out, and then maybe that I could just every once in a while improv sew another little piece on there. We have a little upstairs hallway with a little desk that I think that would work, but that hallway is also the hallway that we store all our junk that we need to bring to the thrift shop or try and sell or throw away or something. So there'd be enough room for the table, the little tiny table, and an iron, and the sewing machine, but not like an iron, which is I would want an iron set up too if I'm doing, you know, a little quilting stuff. While shifting everything out of your sewing room, you think you should never buy fabric again? Yes, so that's what I thought when I went through all my fabric too. My fabric was just everywhere and not organized very well. And then once I finally did organize it, I was just like, dang, I need to start working through this. And you know, then you get to see all the little fabric pieces, little fabric bits that you've purchased prior, and you know, and you purchased it for some reason. You thought it was pretty at the time, right? So you get to see all this pretty fabric and be reminded of when you got it and stuff again. It's kind of fun, but yeah. It wasn't until I got all that organized that I was able to start using it for projects like this again. So I'm really stoked to have it organized now, and which I did, I think, maybe a year ago, or I don't know, several months ago. Bought some plastic bins and folded everything up all nice and organized it, and now I can just grab those bins and pick pretty fabrics from it and use it all up. Or before I wasn't using any of it because it was just everywhere and I couldn't get to it and didn't know what to, you know, I'd find one fabric but I wouldn't have all the other pretty fabrics to go with it because they weren't in the same spot, but now it's all together. It's been super helpful. Haha, you keep buying fabric with cats. That's the best kind of fabric. You should buy more fabric with cats. Or all fabric should just have cats on it. That'd be fine. Perfectly reasonable. Oh yeah, taste change and color themes. That's like all the more reason that I like having all the fabric together, because then you can, you know, you might have a collection of stuff that you don't feel like goes together anymore, but you could take out like one blue from there and put it with something else and it could feel fresh again, but you need it all in the same spot to kind of do that. So yeah, it's kind of interesting though to look back on old projects and look back on fabric and just to see, wow, I liked that back in the day. Little trip down memory lane. Yeah, I'll have to move my scraps today. They're starting to get in the way again. Alrighty. Man, I have trouble popping these seams open. Oh, I don't think it would matter at all if your fabric was different solid colors. You could do it in kind of an organized way, like each zigzag line could be a different color. Like, you know, if you're looking at this, you know, each of these solid lines could be a different color. I think that would be legitimate. I would do something, no matter what, I would do something that contrasts your other fabrics. So like if your other fabrics are really light, for example, then I would make all your other stripes, your every other stripe dark, because then you have like light, dark, or if some of them are really patterned or something, then you do this, you know, solids, so they feel different. So it's like pattern solid, pattern solid, but you'll kind of need to do some sort of contrasting situation between the lines to delineate the lines. Yeah, you could put them like light to dark, that would work. But yeah, to get that zigzag effect, they'll need to have some sort of contrast between the two. But yeah, you could do every zigzag different. That'd be fun. Alrighty. I like this one. It's got all that blotchy purple on. It's pretty. So we'll do a few more yet tonight. Get through this pile a little bit more. Then we'll call it quits at 9:30 here. Oops, I barely got the edge of that one. Ooh, yeah, that's pretty. Oh, look, I didn't press that in half again. Thought that felt funny. I didn't press that one open. We'll just do it now. Again, I don't usually like doing this after because pressing it can stretch things out, especially on triangles. So, you know, I want to avoid this when I can, but I forgot to do it, so gotta do it now. All right, now we're fine. Yeah, we're cruising. You know, I still got a pile here, but we're working. We're working our way through. This one's a pretty one. We haven't seen this one in a while. With all these big dots on here. Ooh, thought I didn't. Felt like I didn't go all the way through there. I don't know. It might be starting to be. Oh man, down here too. Might be getting to be time to change the blade. Or maybe it's just fuzzy again, because it seems to work at the beginning every time I wipe it off. So I think maybe we're just doing so much cutting in this hour here that I think maybe by the time I get to the end of the hour, my blade's just all fuzzed up and stuff, so I just need to wipe it off again. We'll see if that works. I'd rather not have to change the blade already. But yeah, since it's been good from the get-go the past couple of days and then not so good at the end, I think it is just because of the fuzz. We'll wipe it off again before we're done here. I have a little towel out here. We'll try and get through a few more. This one is so fun. It's like a floral fabric with dots on top. Yeah, maybe I'll wipe it off right before I trim these guys. Alrighty. Alright, so here's my little thing. It's collecting all the fuzz. It's a lot of red fuzz from a lot of red cutting. But there, now the blade's clear and all of this around the blade cover is clear, so hopefully this will work a little bit better here. Let's give it a try. I've never really run into that before, where my blade gets so fuzzy that it stops cutting. Yeah, oh, I can feel it already. It's much better already. But I suppose we are doing a lot of cutting compared to, you know, what I'm usually doing. Oh, hello, Yolanda. Welcome back to the lives. All right, that guy's done. He's pretty. I like all those dots. Be fun to design. It's like a pattern and then a completely different pattern designed on top of the pattern. I think that's kind of interesting. And it's got that red in that's almost like my background red, some of those red dots. So that kind of connects this fabric with the quilt a little bit. There we go, like that. All right, I think we'll do one more tonight, and then we'll call it an evening. But we'll take a look at where our stack's at. So tomorrow we'll take some time and sew the stack together. We'll make the half chevrons like we did a couple days ago after getting a few of these half square triangles done like this. Then we won't be doing the same thing tomorrow. We'll doing something different. Back to the sewing machine tomorrow, which is always fun. You miss the sewing machine when it's sitting right next to you, not being used. So I'm excited to use it. Use it again tomorrow. Yes, Deborah, exactly. That's what I love so much about seeing how everyone does their quilt different too. Like they're all like original works of art, and there won't be any, it's impossible. There won't be any like yours for sure. And I don't know, that's special, I think. I mean, you're doing every stitch and every part. It's a little bit of you in each project, I think that's pretty interesting. You're leaving something behind, right? That's one thing us crafty people know that, know for sure is that we'll be leaving something behind, right? I don't think everyone can say that so surely as a crafter. Oh, that's a bummer, Patricia. Live isn't working well tonight. This will be the last one. We'll get this guy and then we'll check out our stacks and be done for the night. Oops. Kind of went on top of the ruler there a little bit. All right, so that is the last half chevron guy there. Woohoo! All right, so here is our stack. So this is our stack from yesterday and today. So this is 2 days worth of cutting and trimming. It doesn't look like much, but it'll end up being, we'll have a stack, probably a little bit more than this. So this is what we're going to be doing tomorrow. We'll be sewing both half square triangles. We'll be sewing them together and pressing them open. So we'll get a whole another stack like this. So that's significant. We're starting a pretty good size chevron pile. We do have all of these yet. It doesn't look like it shrunk at all again. We have all of these for the chevron that goes in this direction. And then we have, if you can believe it, we have all of these. This is our stack of chevrons that will go in the other direction. So like this one. See, like here's the other direction one. So all the ones that we're doing now are from the upper left to the lower right, and then we got to do a whole nother stack that go this direction, and that's what's going to give us our our little zigzag going. We went through the process of a whole one. That's why we have this one hanging out here. But otherwise, all the other ones that we've been doing are all in the same direction. No matter which way you turn it, it always ends up in the same direction. So we'll be doing more of those. Sewing these guys together, what we trimmed tonight. We'll do that tomorrow. And then it'll be back cutting these fellers again. So that's the plan. All right, guys, I'm going to flip you around and we'll call it an evening. Hello again. So if you wanted to join us on this, as you can see, with all this cutting, we will be here a while. Each little step takes some time, but that's kind of the beauty of it, just zenning out into it. So it's the Charming Chevrons quilt again. It's just been so fun seeing what people use for their colors and everything. Like, this is that dark blue behind it. That's kind of what inspired me to do like a darker, bolder color, that dark red. I thought that was just so neat just to see this bold blue, and that's why I'm doing this bold red, just to kind of get that same effect. I'm excited to see how it turns out. But awesome! I hope you guys have a great Thursday tomorrow, and a great Thursday if you are in the future, and it is already Thursday. And I will be here again tomorrow at 8:30 p.m. Central. So thanks again, guys, and I'll catch you tomorrow. Good night.